I'm a little rattled today, to be honest. So, Rory, we'll talk about this more offline, but I actually offended Gowdy today.
He did. I was ready to call HR, and that was not a joke.
Like, I actually crossed the line.
I was ready to walk out the office.
Gowdy, what did I ask
begged.
you? What did I ask? Out of all the things we've said over the years, Rory, what did I say, Gowdy?
You said to make sure I was on time.
Yeah, you didn't fucking say that.
Yeah.
No, you didn't. Wait,
did.
to make sure Jerrod was on
No,
time?
make sure that I was on time, that I did not show
No,
up
he didn't.
late.
No, this is a joke.
No.
So, yeah, I'm a little. I needed a beer this morning. It was a quick but heated, lively discussion. It was a lively discussion, Gowdy.
You can't call it touch and go. You can't use that terminology anymore either.
It was that I wouldn't use that, and I won't use the term. Please be on time.
Yeah. No.
I even said it in a positive way. But anyway, welcome to the Crownsman Show. My apologies to Gowdy. Thank you, Mr. Roy Slack, for joining us. Thank you, Rory Bamford, for joining us. And thank you, me, for joining. Oh, I'm not looking at the camera. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Gentlemen, great to see you again. It's been a week. I'm not used to doing these. I'm just sort of settling into doing these weekly shows. So how's everybody doing? How are things?
Hold on, give me a second.
Rory's a little camera shy there.
Rory just left. Okay.
We're back.
What?
You're
Gowdy,
back.
did I touch something?
No. But I'll blame you for it.
There's
No.
so many, to say there's a lot of HR issues going on here.
And all because there's never been an issue until I even suggested. So for any context, Gowdy is always ahead in every scenario. So, yeah.
You said it in a positive way.
Me saying don't be on late or be on time is
Please be on time.
shockingly hypocritical.
And I almost walked out.
Yeah. But anyway, you're here. Thank you. Thank you for Mr. Slack, how are you? How are you doing? You look I can't tell if you look happy or a little bit tired. What's going on with you?
I'm good. You know I always look forward to these Thirsty Thursday sessions. So
Thursdays are the best.
I'm up for it.
Rory, how are you doing? What's been going on with you? Staying busy? Anything keeping you up at night?
Nothing keeping me up at night. Had a couple good sleeps last night. First time in weeks. So that was nice. It's crazy. Just getting ready for the ramp up that's coming in January is pretty wild. I think we got some cool topics to cover today. I'm blanking as well. Apparently,
Christmas
I was
shopping.
ready to go,
Rory, you've been busy Christmas shopping, I guess, eh?
That's right. So busy Christmas shopping.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I get it all done in November. Obviously,
You have to get it done in time.
I get mine done on the 24th, and I go
Just
to
in
Hudson
time.
Bay.
Don't be late with that Christmas shopping.
Can we just take a moment to talk about that the Bay needs to do better?
now we're throwing the Bay under the bus.
They need to be thrown under the bus. I'm sorry. That's like that. That's just.
Bay?
It's just the Bay, Hudson Bay Company. It's just getting sad. A couple years ago, they started trying to sell. They were doing like a Facebook marketplace.
No, they weren't.
Yeah, they did.
No,
Yep.
they were not.
Yes, they were selling used stuff. Yep, it's true. Look it up.
Okay.
We'll get the producers to look it up. It happened. Yep.
Hudson Bay or eBay?
Hudson Bay was trying to do eBay. Yep, it's true. Look it up.
Joe, were they trying to sell on Hudson Bay Marketplace, like on Facebook?
No. It was like part of their website thing, and people could. Yeah, it was bad. It was really bad. Anyway, shout out to Hudson Bay. Love them. Okay. So, gentlemen, okay, Rory, what are we drinking for beer today? I don't even need this to go after the Bay, apparently, but let's. What are we drinking?
I thought we'd go with a dark beer today. I'm not sure what you guys. I'm just starting to get a feel of what you guys like, but I thought we'd go with a dark black lager. This is by Silversmith out of Niagara on the Lake. It's a wine region, definitely, but They're in an old church, and they're just down there. They're walking distance from Gretzky's vineyards. Gretzky Winery is a big facility on the edge of Virgil, and this is an award winner from Silversmith. I don't know if it was their first beer or not, but I thought it might be a good introduction to a dark beer to deal with your, what do you call it, nyctophobia, your fear of the dark. So
yeah. For anybody who doesn't know, who was Gretzky, Roy?
He was the father of Polina Gretzky, who's famous for marrying the golfer. He played some hockey too.
Right. Paulina married. Oh, I forgot the
Dustin.
Roy's
I can't
busy.
pour and think at the same time.
No, I'm watching your pour to see how.
Gowdy, do you know who Gretzky is? Do you genuinely know who Gretzky is? What team did he play for?
Guys,
I realize you're asking me this because you really believe I'm gonna get this wrong.
I think you should get it right. This, out of any hockey question, this you should get right.
Be more specific, Jerrod. The first team he played for.
Any team. Just name a team.
That's really bad.
Yeah,
first team.
I'm not trying to embarrass her.
Can I make a call? Can I?
You can call
A lifeline, please.
No lifeline.
It's
It's Gretzky. Most goals ever scored unless Ovechkin catches them, which he looks like he probably
I'm only
will.
going to say this because I saw a poster, so I'm going to say Canucks.
Tell you what, Gowdy, I'm going to text you.
Okay, let's edit that
I'm going
out.
to text Edmonton Oilers in here, and when you get the text, you can.
Are you joking? Are you messing with us? Or are you serious?
She's probably messing with us.
You're messing with us, right?
Yes.
Okay, what team?
I honestly don't know. I don't know. But I do know that was wrong.
Stop glancing at your screen. That screen's not going to help you, Gowdy.
But in all honesty, he almost did play for Vancouver. That was a cool podcast when he talked about that. They almost got him. They did almost get him. They didn't.
Way to bring down the mood. Thanks a lot for that.
He could have gotten, with the deal, he could have gotten 5 or 10% of the Canucks. He kind of regrets that now. $2 billion team.
So just a sidebar. I visited Gretzky's winery not long ago because they also make beer.
Mm-hmm.
They also brew beer, but they had eliminated their beer lines. Apparently, their wine sales are so much greater, and the craft beer industry is pretty cutthroat.
And whiskey too, right? They do whiskey too.
His whiskey. Can we drink that on the show one day? His whiskey is really good.
Mm-hmm.
Really good.
Yeah.
It's all that LA Laker money that he put into it.
No, Dodgers.
Why are you looking at me?
Come on, Gowdy. You should have known that.
I should have known that. Out of all the people, I would definitely be the last person to know that. Let's talk about our Heavy Industry World Tour brought to you by Sabina Equipment. Find, market, and sell surplus and used equipment. We are heading to events across North America and Australia and filming episodes on location. Email us at info@crownsman.com to be part of Crownsman's Heavy Industry World Tour. Did you know cementitious binders can be responsible for up to 70% of the total GHG footprint of mine backfilling processes? Now you can replace up to 50% of the binder in your mine backfill operations with Graybond, Graymont's new low-carbon cementitious binder. This lime-based alternative binder maintains a 40 to 70% lower GHG footprint compared to typical cement and can adapt to varying mine conditions without compromising performance. Learn more about Graybond at graybond.com. Join us in the depths of the mining world, where global leaders and industry giants converge to shape the future of mining. From groundbreaking technologies, advanced machinery, revolutionary safety measures, to sustainable initiatives. This is the voice of mining. This is Mining Now. Showcase your company to millions worldwide. Book your episode now. Visit crownsman.com.
Wow. Okay, what do we? Okay, so we're drinking the beer. Sorry, I'm really pulling us all over the place today. What do you want to talk about? Anything on your mind? Rory, do you want to go first? I'm yelling.
That to Rory?
Rory, Mr. Bamford. I'll have a little
I'll jump into it. Because,
hey, where's Lenny?
What?
Where's Lenny?
No, I knew you'd be on good behavior, but apparently Jerrod was not. So anyway,
Sorry.
It just depends. A quick note, we do have World of Concrete coming up, so that's cool. But today I'm going to be touching on more on the energy side. And we actually did an episode back in 2023, I think, with Imperial Oil and Finning, talking about their renewable diesel plant. And they are actually, it looks like they'll be going online the later half of 2025 now to full production. So I was just doing some digging around, taking a look at that. I mean, it's not, it's all over, but it is interesting. They've got a goal of 20,000 barrels a day of renewable diesel, and the cost of the plant will be about 720 million. That was from like last year, so the figure might be updated or revised. But then I was looking at 20,000 barrels of renewable compared to what Canada consumes a day in diesel fuel. Diesel and heating oil is the actual metric, and Canada we're consuming 562,000 barrels of diesel and heating oil per day. So this is a very small portion of that. So I'm wondering, and I don't actually know this for a fact, but I'm wondering if they're probably attempting to see if there is a market for it and to see if that can be expanded, because obviously with that daily amount per day, that's a huge opportunity if more people are going for a lower emission fuel.
Sorry, how much are they going to be able to produce in 2025?
20,000 barrels per day.
And we do about 500,000?
562,000 is what we consume in Canada per day.
Wow, so it's just
The USA, I was looking at, they're up to 3.9 million barrels a day.
And they're getting most of that's coming from like mid Canada, right? Like feeds on the prairies?
Yeah, feedstock. I think they're trying to use more waste as well. I was going down a bit of a rabbit hole on YouTube about like ethanol, because that's apparently like ethanol, you'll see it's 10% of fuel, but not in like the premium fuels. But it's interesting because they're actually pushing in the US, like the ethanol lobby, to do 20% of fuel to be like ethanol, but it's going to take a lot of agricultural land to do that. So there's kind of like mixed opinions about it, like if that would be a good thing to go from like 10 all the way up to 20%, just with the volume of like corn production they'd have to do.
Effortless Corporate Traveler Management is here with Corporate Traveler Canada. Boost your business with trusted expert solutions that save time, money, and enhance the traveler experience. Trusted by thousands of companies worldwide. Book and track your travels on your phone or let your dedicated consultant handle it for you. Enjoy 24/7 support and live chat from any time zone and get real-time travel alerts anywhere you go. Your next business trip just got easier. Learn more about Corporate Traveler Canada at corporatetraveler.ca. Attention builders, we've got everything you need to know about the grit and grind of the construction world in one show. The Construction Show is where you can share your expert techniques and strategies to help keep the crew strong and construction sites secure. From foundational tips, industry trends, safety strategies to advanced equipment and machinery. Be part of the voice of construction. Book your episode and showcase your company to millions worldwide. Visit crownsman.com.
Right. They when they were on our show, what they were really talking about is all the tests they were doing, just showcasing that all the CATs, the Komatsus, that it ran just as efficiently, that there was no, like, they were being really detailed. Yeah, that's what they were focused on. They, we had to retake a question because they used, like, a point decimal wrong. Like, they were being very precise on because they did a whole bunch of testing and a whole bunch of data analytics, and it was exactly the same. So that was their sort of case study in that this can be used in the market, which I'm wondering if they'll probably use it more in those heavy industrial. Roy, you in the contracting side, if I remember right, I think that's where they're sort of trying to push it into the market through. Did you get introduced to it at all back in your day?
Not so much that, but there's more talk about, I don't know if the right term is biofuels, but basically wood pellets and things like that, renewable resources. But maybe a related topic, and I don't know if you saw the news recently where Amazon is looking at small nuclear reactors. I think we call them SMRs in Canada, small modular reactors. But looking at them privately, like, there are some governments that use them, but so I found that interesting. It's a very efficient, very clean method, but then you have nuclear waste to deal with on the other end of the equation. But
I'm just picturing Bezos putting all these little nuclear reactors on all his little vans going everywhere, and all of us just sitting here going, "Wait a second."
No. It'll just be at all his different plants.
All the lights on the NORAD facility lighting up. All Amazon warehouses.
Just seeing the governments going, "Wait a second, those can't be turned into weapons, right?"
And that's exactly why the word nuclear, it's like it goes nuclear weapons.
And Bezos going, no, they can't be. I mean, we need one extra part to do that, and we're not using that part.
Exactly.
I mean, where's the biggest margin in business? It's in military hardware, probably.
That is a fascinating world, the military hardware side. Actually though, we're just because Roy, you were talking about those modular reactors, and I can't say who at this point, but I was just meeting with a company yesterday, and I think we're going to do an episode about it. They're doing them like sort of the mid-tier ones that can go on like mine sites and things like that. Yeah. Very, very cool. Yeah.
Would they be constructing, or can you not go into details at all?
I can go into some details. So they'll be doing it because of like the waste, the refueling, and that sort of thing. People don't want to own these things. It's kind of quite a technical thing to maintain them. So it will be like a rental system. Is a rental system, yeah. I can't say too much more. I don't want to get anybody in trouble. But so we'll actually be doing an episode about that. Maybe on the Crownsman Show. We might even do a multi-panel discussion with them. I think nuclear is going to be a much, like you're saying, Roy, with those smaller modules. We talked a bit about it on like the last episode, and I think it's going to become much more relevant again, as it seems like the more they innovate around nuclear, the smaller they can do the setups, and they still produce just a crazy amount of power compared to.
I think the challenge that governments are going to have is monitoring it or controlling it, both the raw fuel, like the uranium or whatever. I don't know the technology at all, but the uranium or the pellets or whatever it is that they use, that's the fuel itself. And then there's the low radiation waste, which are things like clothing and buildings and things around it. And then there's the high radiation waste, which is the actual waste from the reactor. And if you have a few of those plants, in Canada or in the States, you can monitor and control. But, like if you've got a situation where a group like Amazon is putting them on 40 warehouses, how do you begin to maintain security and control that? I don't know any of the answers to those questions, but that's something that you have to look at beyond storing the waste.
Question on that nuclear for both of you, because it'd be interesting to kind of so again, going back to the agriculture side, like with all the biofuels and renewable diesel, they also use things like canola, like the byproduct from canola and all that. But corn in the USA has been a big one. It's been heavily subsidized, and it's actually driving up. I can't remember the name of the documentary I was watching. I'll try and get it. Again, it's on one of my YouTube searches, and it's actually caused like the price of food and that to go up just because they're having to produce so much corn for this ethanol, because they're literally just making it for the ethanol product. And I'm wondering, it'd be interesting to look at, okay, if you took that nuclear instead of the ethanol, like how much equivalent nuclear would it take to just have to not even worry about that anymore? Because you offload that 10% and just do the equivalent of nuclear. I bet there's an argument that it would actually be a lot more cost effective, environmentally friendly, and then we could potentially like lower food costs again, like if we stop subsidizing that one product.
Aren't they generally used in different applications though? Like I guess heating oil, maybe you could use the nuclear, but nuclear would be powering infrastructure of some kind generally, and then then the fuel is powering some sort of mobile.
Yeah, usually
equipment
like
or
vehicles.
Cars or whatever. Yeah.
But I'm just saying, like, you could take, okay, how much, what is it taking in like emissions to create all that corn, and then versus the nuclear power, and just if you clean that up, it wouldn't matter if everybody's just using fossil fuels. They could then, they know it's like it's eliminated, like they've canceled each other out basically.
Well, you would think in like cities and that's where you could scale up like electric cars, and I know that's a whole discussion too. But like in city applications, like electric is quite handy sometimes. As soon as you get out of the city, it becomes not very very user friendly, you might say. But it does seem like it seems a little bit, with the technology we have, a little outdated to be all this like bio waste and putting more hydro in, more dams. It's like you've got the technology. You got to figure out how to manage it, Roy, like you've said before. But I mean, you can figure it out. Build facilities that can store this waste. I mean, whatever you have to do. It just seems a little bit. It's like we're 20 years behind on something that shouldn't really be that complicated at this point, because the technology is there.
Yeah, we still haven't. We talked about that. I don't know if it was last show. We still haven't figured out where to store the waste. A number of governments that are using nuclear energy have just designated a spot to store it.
Yeah.
But in our society, we need to consult with the community. We need to do studies, and eventually, every community says we don't want it near us.
Right.
So we still haven't got a spot to store that waste. If you want it in a remote area, you've got to transport it to that remote area.
Right.
Anyway, it's a very challenging. And when I mentioned biofuels, that's another discussion we didn't have on this show, but separately, because your carbon footprint reduces using the renewable of wood pellets, for example. But then the question becomes, where did those wood pellets come from?
Yeah.
How many trees have to be cut down to get that? Well, trees are renewable resources, yes, but they won't grow to that size for another 60 years. There's all these levels, or it's the onion. All these layers involved in these things.
Because the argument with the biofuels, I was just looking it up, the argument with the biofuels is that the plant has already taken carbon out of the air, so it offsets the carbon that it puts back in. It's done a give and take as a plant, essentially.
Yeah. Well, if you look at corn, and you can, grow corn quickly, but if you look at a forest, it takes a lot longer to reforestation, whatever the correct term is. So
yeah,
that's another issue with if you're trying to lobby that ethanol goes from 10 to 20% of fuel, how much more land are you going to have to clear for agriculture? That isn't even for, like, obviously there's animals that eat corn and that as well, but a lot of times it's simply being made for ethanol fuel production facilities.
Right.
And then if you look at like what happened in Australia when they went and they cleared a whole bunch of agriculture land, and they, like Roy's saying, those forests don't grow back very fast. That's a way longer process. So it seems like there would be a way, again, the balancing act of, okay, bringing in these smaller nuclear reactors and not having so much going into agriculture when it could easily be offset somewhere else.
What would be really interesting for Canada to try, for any country to try, is a carbon zero city. Build a city with nuclear power and with all these things, and electric cars, and it would be a social experiment.
I think Kanye West was going to do that.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
What?
It's his big, beautiful nightmare. Is that what the name of the album is? But
that's the name of the city too.
I throw out just throwing out a name of support, and Hudson Bay
Where
could
do you
set up
live?
stores.
I live in Conway West. It's just down the road from Conway.
It is Kanye.
I was trying to do a quick look to see. I was curious, like energy consumption by industrial versus consumer. I would assume consumers way more because everybody's living in houses. So I'm gonna try and find this out.
Oh, I thought you were gonna give us a stat here. I thought you were saying you had looked up. Oh, okay.
Keep talking about Kanye.
Kanye in the night. I love Kanye. His music. I love his music.
Kanye doesn't like Taylor.
That line, we just got trademarked. Demonetized.
No, that was quick enough. I stopped fast enough. We're fine.
Jerrod's canceled.
Can't cancel me. Because nobody knows who I am. You guys didn't say it, so I said it. Okay, so I was kind of curious because something that we discuss even in our business, Roy, we've got these different shows and like how do you grow and like there's acquisitions and there's mergers and or do you just kind of grow organically? And you can't really even look at other examples because everybody does it differently. McDonald's does it by franchises. Starbucks owns all of their stores and runs them. Like, why? I don't know why one structure works for one company and the other. So I was just curious about something, and I found the interesting one. And we had who's also a big company. I think they were like a $6-8 billion market cap. Roy, Nalco Water, right? They're fairly large.
Yeah, they've been growing pretty steady clip. Yeah.
We had them on the show, on the mining show a few years ago. That was a very cool episode. They were talking about like the chemicals they use in like Saudi Arabia because there's like a lack of water, but they still need to mine. So they use these chemicals to maximize water consumption. Very cool stuff. So anyway, so I got down this road of you'd both know about when Dow and DuPont did their merger. But then they split. They merged and then split it into 3 divisions. Did either one of you follow that?
I was, yeah, a bit back.
Did they take each of those divisions public? Was it a separate IPO? Or did they just...
Yes, I believe so. There was I forget how the share. Well, actually, I was reading how the share swap happened, but I don't remember it now. But they went to Dow, which was dedicated to the commodity chemical production. Then they went DuPont, specialty chemical production. So that'd be kind of like the Nalcos, Roy, I would assume. And then the Corteva, which was dedicated to the agriculture chemicals. See, it all ties back. But I was just thinking, like, that's quite a play to merge these 2 giant companies and to give a scope of size in just comparison. I wrote it down somewhere. Where was it? It might have been over here. Not my apologies note. I already went through that. DuPont is the biggest, $86 billion. This is back in like 2018 in sales. They're next. The BASF in Germany was next with 74. Saudi Arabia's SADC was 33 billion, and Formosa was 46 billion. So
they're just a giant.
So Dow DuPont was at 86 billion. That back then.
Jerrod, my qualm about this is so they had no problem letting this approval go through. I don't even get me started. But anyway, this is back when apparently you could still do a massive deal. Yeah, that's true. Well, they have. I mean, if you combine their competitors, the competitors are still larger. But that is. I wonder if that is why. Actually, I have no idea. That's pure speculation. But it is. It's an interesting approach to business that you take 2 powerhouses, merge them together, and then split them up into 3 divisions because now you've got all this strength across the board. They must have had that plan.
For sure.
Like, we're going to come in because every time you spin off those companies, it's supposed to create this huge wave of value, like unlock each separate entity. Berkshire, they talk about it all the time. They're like, well, he could spin off stuff, but Buffett's like, nah, I'll keep it all.
But there could be other reasons for that too. I mean, Jerrod, you alluded to monopolies and competition bureaus, and these deals are evaluated in each country. And if one country, the competitions bureau in that country says no, then you may have to look at how to restructure the deal to get approval across the board. I don't know. I don't know the reasons they split. I mean, the structure, it seems to be a sensible structure to split into. If each group listed separately, then creating IPOs for those individual groups to fund growth, there could be different reasons for that.
Jerrod, it's interesting too because they're also competing with like ExxonMobil, 3M as well. They have divisions as well, so there's all those get added on. So there's a lot of players in that space.
Well, that's when you said about like that. I don't think they had a monopoly risk really because there are so many players in the space.
Yeah.
I don't think they would have had. I mean, even just the companies I listed, and there's other companies that are below that have 8 billion in revenue and stuff like the Nalcos and that. So they probably didn't even have 30% market share.
See, as a general comment, smaller companies look at acquisitions from a strategic perspective. So you're going to diversify your services.
Yeah.
You're going to increase or expand your client base. You're going to expand your geographical reach. When you get to that size, sometimes a lot of the logic behind it is financial. Whether it's a different tax base, whether it's ability to raise more money on the market, and maybe not as strategic, maybe not as strategic growth-wise in nature as a smaller or mid-sized company might approach a merger or acquisition.
Do you think, though, something I kind of want to touch on, though, a little bit more is that, like you're saying, smaller companies, they want to expand their service, expand their reach.
Different reasons, yeah.
Yeah, but I wonder sometimes it's a thinking problem that sort of keeps you at a certain point in a company. I would have, before reading this, it never crossed my mind to make a deal with another company with the concept to then split it up later. So you kind of trade services and get everything shorn up so that you're strong in these really specific streams and then split and then push it out into the market again. Like that's pretty, if you could do that even as a smaller company, it'd be pretty powerful.
There's opportunities to do. If you look at the market cap of certain companies and then you evaluate the values of the individual companies, there's corporate raiders that will buy up companies and sell off the pieces.
Right.
Depending on the market, when the value of the operating companies on their own is worth more than the value of the parent company, you can buy the parent company on the market at its existing share price, and you can take it off the market. You can take it private and then reintroduce it back into the market in pieces. There's different ways to do that.
Yeah,
that's a really interesting point because I follow some of these companies I followed as an example. It's kind of spectacular because a company that is really well managed, they will issue shares to buy a company when the prices are peaking, because they know that. Also, the shareholders will probably also sell some of their shares too, to get max value. But what's interesting is, so that's a good company, a good capital allocator. The bad ones, it's peaking. They've got all this. They might be getting press. They might be getting followed. So people are like, "Yeah, go, go, go to the moon, to the moon." They issue bonds, and they start buying back their stock at record high prices. When what they should be doing is, for capital allocation, is getting ready, issue bonds, stack up your balance sheet, wait for the correction, and then buy back 10% of the company. I'd way rather see that as an investor. But these companies, they'll literally go and just spend billions buying back at record high prices. And
but I thought, I might be wrong here, I thought in Canada there were some regulations about the percent of buyback. I thought a 10% was a limit, but I might be wrong there.
I don't know what the limit would be. I mean, you can get approval on if you're going to do big buybacks, But I'm curious. I don't know that regulation. I know they put in a tax on buybacks, but I think it's like 1% or something. So it wasn't anything crazy.
Well, while you're looking at that up, Rory, I'm going to do it just because you guys kind of snickered at Kanye, and I'm going to do a quote. And I'm going to say this actually is very similar to what Buffett says. So I think business has to be stupider. I want to do really straightforward, stupid business. Just talk to me like a 4-year-old. And I refuse to negotiate. I do not negotiate. But it is. But actually, interesting enough, Roy, Buffett doesn't really negotiate. He puts together the value and then makes the offer. So they are very similar.
Was he saying that about Buffett?
No. I'm just doing an equivalency.
It makes me wonder. I don't know why I read all those business books. I should have just listened. I've got a Kanye album CD. I should just listen to that a few times.
Jesus walks.
I love Kanye's music.
But Jerrod, Roy, blah.
Bro, I feel like you got distracted. I was trying to give you some filler time.
You
just stopped.
A normal normal course issuer bid is a Canadian term for a public company repurchase. They can do it 5 to 10% of shares.
Could you say that again, like I'm a 4-year-old?
Company buys 5-10% back of your M&Ms.
Got it.
If you have 100 M&Ms and you give 100 of them to friends, you can buy back 10 of those M&Ms maximum, but you can't buy them all back.
But you could do that multiple times, of course.
I'm starting to get confused again. I had it.
Now that a 4-year-old that failed math in kindergarten.
But as I'm saying, like from a capital allocator, like there's companies in my portfolio that I'm like, they just get beat on by the markets. They just keep buying more and more and more shares at record lows. Why not? Just don't even pay a dividend. There's no point. Buy back the shares. Eventually the value will get recognized. And you might have a 20% premium that's going to get recognized because they bought back 20%.
If you have a good operating business behind it.
Yes.
It's a low risk process if the company has a solid solid revenue stream, good future.
Yeah.
There's always risk because nobody can nobody can predict extraordinary, what do you call them, black swan
March
events.
2020, nobody can predict how fast everything falls out.
Yeah.
Roy, what's on your mind? What's on your heart? What have you been thinking about?
We talked last week about critical minerals and how challenging it is for democratic countries to, I won't say become self-sufficient, but even gain control of some of these minerals. And a couple things have happened recently with the prospect of tariffs, and I keep thinking North America with regard to critical minerals should be working together. But if you start to put in trade barriers, it's going to become even more difficult for us to compete with China or with another country. And I also saw China starting to restrict some specific critical minerals in shipping overseas. So it just worries me.
You're touching on something that grinds. I've made the error. I'm sure we've all made the error if you're in any sort of leadership position. But when you start talking, this is the thing that grinds my gears. When it's good, the natural instinct is people take advantage of the good time rather than use that opportunity to set up for when the future is bad. Again,
like the stock buyback.
And Canada was in such a good position. Credit, debt, economy. And then rather than, and I'm going to actually try to avoid, I have my political opinions about it, but I'm not going into that realm of it.
Yeah.
We just, through elected officials, through investment, attracting foreign investment, how we taxed the people, all these things that we did, just slowly built us towards this thing that is historically bound to happen. countries go, like especially major ones like the United States, go from more open, collaborating on a global stage to then you get a more nationalistic approach. And that just goes back and forth and will till the end of days. If you read any history, it's the same process over and over. So when you have this global collaborative economy, how do you not go, yes, but this will end? And it drives me absolutely crazy. It's the same, Roy, exactly like the stock buybacks, exactly the same thing. It's just people that's, if you're betting on a guy throwing a basketball and he's getting the hoop, every time he throws it, there's less chance he's going to get the next one. You were better to bet on the first 10, not the last 10. It just drives me, because it's not hard. Somebody that like me, that's a 4-year-old, I can understand it. It shouldn't be that difficult, especially for global leaders. That's my rant for the day. Thank you, everybody.
That's a good rant, though, because it is frustrating that you run on potentially like surpluses and that, and you kind of just let everything just stretch out.
Instead of doubling and tripling down.
Yeah.
Investing in the country on a whole new scale now, because you can.
And not even taking advantage of these new markets are opening up. Let's get mining, or let's get producing. Even when I see that renewable diesel plant, I'm like, okay, so they can be built. Build more refineries, build more, keep more of it in North America. But
I'm just going to quickly add one more thing. And it's the dual mind as well. Is that in Vancouver, let's say, they're attracting a lot of technology companies. You got the Amazons and Microsoft, and everybody's coming here and building. They're getting buildings built, and Amazon took the old post office and made a building above it. Great. Why can't we do that and invest in oil and gas? It really frustrates me that you have to split off these two when they're all working together. I don't understand it.
I read an article about Ontario, and Ontario obviously is going heavy again to try and get more manufacturing.
Yeah.
But the big but is they were focused on, we got all this tech companies coming in. We're going to have marketing and engineering and all the non-hard labor jobs. Do both. There's piles of land. We can build the infrastructure. Do both.
And Ontario, piles of energy. You've got all the energy that you need. It's just crazy.
And they already have. So Ontario, they've already embraced nuclear. They've been using it for years. They're already ahead in that regard.
Roy, I think we've solved the problem already. But do you have anything to add?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, we should.
No. I was going to make one point, though.
But we made them all.
My comments are non-partisan.
Yes.
It's not one party that's doing this.
No.
The recent election in the U.S. is going to.
It's two parties. They both need to go. Sorry.
But it could be.
Sorry.
But it's. I don't know. It's frustrating, and it looks to be, a symptom of the system that we can't seem to get past certain issues. So,
but you've led larger groups of people than Rory and I have. So, when you're running a company and things are going well, was your natural instinct, or did you catch yourself? Did you that thing of when things are going well that you start to then reinvest for those bad days? Did you consciously think about that? Is it just not a natural human instinct, and you just have to actually consciously know to do it?
So I'll tell you a story. And I was working in the shaft in Timmins. I think it was 1982 or 83, and the clam operator. Great operator, and those were the guys that made the most money in the shaft. Payday, he'd go to the airport hotel in Porcupine, and he'd buy drinks for everyone all night. Next day, he'd go back to work to make enough money to do it again.
Yeah, I like him.
And I watched this, and I remember saying to myself, when I'm 50, I'm not going to be living in the bunkhouse.
Was he 50?
He probably would have been around that age. He's an experienced miner.
Okay, I don't like him as much as I did.
But,
that's a little much.
And sometimes you feel that's the way our governments work. Is
spend it all.
Anyway. It's probably not a good analogy, but my point is that that's something I always remembered. And when we got into business, the first company I ran, we had tough times right from the start because one of our clients went under. They owed us a bunch of money, never paid us back, and we had to manage cash flow for a year and a half to survive. Damn. So I think that kind of experience kind of shapes you. So, you look ahead, even if things are going great, money's coming in, you're saying, well, how come we're spending $40,000 on a pickup when we can get them for 25 or 30? Mm-hmm. You have, I don't know if the word's frugal or cheap or whatever it is, but it becomes ingrained.
I think it's common sense is like how like a Buffett would analyze, like
or Kanye, but yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But I think the old saying, you make hay when the sun shines, right? I mean,
Jerrod, our friend Jim, he talked about like when we were talking about like how you analyze, like, should we invest in like, say this equipment in the studio reno? He's like, what's the payoff time on it? Yeah. So we can do those numbers. Payback period. And it can be literally one event, 1 month. Even if it's a little bit, if it stretches you a bit, because we're a young company, small business, but it's like, well, we're going to make that back. So we have to do it. We have to do it.
Yeah. But it's harder. There is this thing that happens in your mind when you've booked 100 episodes and everything's rolling, and then someone has a suggestion. It's easier to dismiss the suggestion than when things are not going good and you need to like get something happening and someone suggests something. And that seems to sort of be what this pattern is. And if you can break that pattern, I think that's where there's a lot of success.
Well, it's like Dennis and I like harping on super promo, and then all of a sudden you're like, well, it's time.
And then I blew everything up.
And everything gets blown up. But it's true, because if you I mean, we talk about Musk a lot, but he always says, like, if people will they'll pretend they're innovating in parameters.
Yeah. Oh, I loved it when you sent that over.
And yeah, that's not real innovation. Innovation is sometimes you have to go, we can make it so much better.
Rory, can you touch on that quote just for anybody? Just mention it again, because it's such a good thing to just have in your.
I can't say it word for word, but Elon said most companies, they talk about innovation, and well, like I said, the parameters basically they'll only go so far, because they don't want to take a risk with capital. They don't want to take a risk that one of their products might get it might be gone. It might not even work anymore. So it's real innovation is I basically see a product or a service that actually doesn't even exist, and I'm going to, like
McDonald's with the fish fillet. I know it's kind of a silly example, but it is actually a good example. The guy, one of the local owners, bought I don't even remember what happened. He somehow made these fish fillets on his store, and then there was some conflict about it, and it ended up being so popular. To this day, I think you can get a fish fillet. I don't know who buys that, but
Kanye West might like them.
I don't think so. I think he has pretty good taste.
The quote, and this is I love quote. This is so. If things are not failing, you are not innovating enough.
Yeah.
Okay, so I want to comment on that, because we just got talking about. We just got done talking about being prudent and managing your money and not going crazy when things are going well. I have felt through my career that innovation is sometimes a luxury. People talk about innovation like, oh, you've got to innovate all the time. You got to do things. Innovation's expensive. Mm-hmm. Innovation isn't always a return on investment. It's easy for Elon to look at it because he can lose billions on Twitter and he walks away smiling. Jeff Bezos, no problem. And when we listen to all these guys talk about innovation, we have to put that into context, because if you're the size of a company where you can spend $1 billion on an idea that might fail, That's great. Most of us can't. So we've got to look at innovation. There has to be, I don't want to call it return on investment, it has to be funded somehow. And if you can't fund it from your profits, then you're putting your business at risk. And if you don't see a return on the investment, then you're not doing your shareholders or stakeholders.
Okay, I want to comment on that, but Rory, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm a little just too aggressively chomping at the bit there, but I think though what he is saying, it's very basic, and like you can go, yeah, there's a risk, but when you stay stagnant, I was reading a Bell report about them writing off all their TV and radio businesses because there's no innovation that happened around that. Everything's going digital. I do think, again, going to the good times are rolling, even if like your profits, you probably want to go, instead of paying out extra dividends, paying out extra bonuses, you probably do want to consider, we need, maybe it's an innovation fund. I mean, Google's famous for it, or Alphabet. They have a lot of bets that haven't paid off, but I do think that's a big opportunity that probably if more companies, especially like the larger ones, actually dedicated resources to it, there probably would be even more value getting created long term.
But
some of them are going to fail.
There's a lot of close to saying the same thing, that if you're okay, so let's say when things are going good, you innovate, but you truly innovate. So you do it in proportion to your profits and to your revenue, so you don't overblow and turn your whole company upside down trying to do it. But the innovation is not just shaving off a little bit here and doing it a little bit different here. It's actually innovation. So there is sort of there is a way that you could do it. And I think, like Rory, what you're saying about Elon Musk, that when he spends $1 billion, it is not to make a bolt a little bit shorter. He's going to eliminate the whole bolt in the system. Like, his innovation is high risk, high reward, but he is doing it still within the context of an operating company. And I think if you're spending the money anyway, if let's say you're only a $10 million company and you only have $100,000 to innovate, do something that actually makes a dent. Not just, okay, we're going to put a new system in that raises our efficiency by 0.5%. That's just my thought on it. Rory, what do you think of that? Rory Slack.
Well, let's take that $10 million a year company. And after building up the company, so you probably have some debt to deal with. You're making some money now. It's an age-old question of how much do you allocate to innovation. If it's privately owned company, that's up to and it's one owner. That's up to the owner. But still, innovation's expensive. If you look at one engineer or scientist working on it for a year, I mean, that's $100,000.
Yeah.
Right?
Easy, yeah.
And
you got to have a goal.
Patents and anything else. And you begin to look at the cost of it, and you begin to see how prohibitive it is for small companies to do. People do it, don't get me wrong, but it's not something that every company can do. And it really takes some vision. It takes a great idea. It takes someone to figure out how to do it. It takes perseverance, because there's lots of points along the way where you can drop that and forget about the $100,000 and put it on the bottom line and do the next big project. So,
well, I want to actually jump. Go ahead. I want to jump back because Roy mentioned, like, obviously he bought Twitter, now it's X, for $44 billion. What's interesting is the one thing that even with that, so I think, Roy, what you said was interesting, because you can't have somebody basically in a shed going, I wonder what I could do. He
right.
bought a platform. He obviously reduced a lot of the waste for how it was running. It runs better, like way better now than it did like previously.
And Kanye West is back on. Sorry.
This is true. This is true.
Kanye puts the X in say.
Oh boy.
So
I'll stop. That's the last one.
He's done things where now you have a subscriber. So if you're a subscriber, people will actually see your replies. And I'm testing it out even for because on the video, on the engagement, and sure enough, you spend your $8 a month or whatever it is, and you see a lot of people now. So now you're engaging and you're going back and forth. I was like, oh, people don't see anything because they basically, if you don't pay for a subscription now, you can't really use it. So it's funded by the people using it. And then you've got the business account. So he's already in that space. He's figured a way. Once he lost a whole bunch of advertisers, he's like, well, this still is a good platform. It's news. Like I see stuff on there that is it's like hours before it ever hits anything else.
Yeah.
People will tell me about something days later. I'm like, did you just hear about that? And so it is like that. It's like that instant, basically that instant news platform is what it's becoming. And now he's even using that as like a push to get more people. Like if you see it, post it kind of thing.
Well, I will say, oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, obviously he wants people using it like way too much, but anyway.
I was just going to say one thing that we're talking about though is when you don't have a culture of innovation and risk taking, which takes an environment of there can't be too many regulations, there can't be too high taxes, and you can have your opinion on that. But if you want that innovation, you can't have that in a bogged down environment. If you don't have that culture where people are, that people aren't bringing in capital into your country and stuff, then Roy, we started talking about things like tariffs and that. When this happens, you can have a lot of opinions about it, of when you should do it and how big you need to be and all that sort of stuff. But we are going to pay the price. Canada, I wish I had this stat. I wish we had known we were talking about it, and I would have looked it up today. The stat in the drop of entrepreneurship in Canada is terrible.
Oh,
it's terrible.
Brutal.
And we are going to pay a price for that now on the global stage.
When most people talk about innovation, they think about technical innovation, like building a new machine or a new technology.
Yeah.
But we all suffered from the financial meltdown, which was a financial innovation.
Yeah.
Which wasn't a good one, but it made a lot of money for some people. Mm-hmm. When the technical innovation gets difficult, new code to do something that is simple, but it's a different idea. I mean, that's a different kind of innovation. And like Rory, what you said about how Elon is changing Twitter, I mean, that was, what's necessity is the mother of invention.
Yeah. And that is a financial change. The innovation is a financial innovation on that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was necessary, right? Mm-hmm. It wasn't an idea, let's do this and it'll make it better. It's a bunch of advertisers left because we did some haywire things. We got to do something to survive. Which isn't to say it isn't an innovation, but
no, it's a great point.
Differently motivated.
Yeah.
And the pivot to video, like trying to get people to use, put video up on, that was another one. Again, because you see YouTube. YouTube is just a monster. It's just a phenomenal video platform. It's trending towards overtaking. Jerrod, I was looking at this because I saw one thing that was like 500,000 new people in Canada, no increase in businesses started.
My reaction to all that sort of that stagnation of sort of entrepreneurship in Canada is like the equivalent of like how mad Gowdy was at me for telling her not to be late. As you can see, it kind of gets me a little upset. Again, and Gowdy, I do apologize for that. Rory, do you want to give us? I'll give my review first. I really like this beer. This is one of my favorites that we've tried so far. I'm going to go on a limb. I have not read anything. I taste a hint of blackberry. Am I crazy?
Those are two separate questions. Maybe not related.
That's true.
I always forget. Rory gets this little nastiness. It's little like there's a little nastiness about 3/4 of the way through the beer. Roy, how much do you have left? I'm guessing about 3/4. Or Rory, yep, that's right there. Every time he starts to get a little
empty. Mine's been empty for a while.
Yeah, you don't get nasty, Rory. Though you get, you're actually pretty similar drinking as you. I just realized that Rory doesn't change much when he has a few drinks. Yeah, that's interesting.
Me?
Yeah, you don't really like I get. I just take 10 times longer to explain everything.
But at least you could get everybody to explain it as a 4-year-old.
Exactly. That's funny.
Jerrod, when I went out with Rory in Kamloops, he got to a point where he actually paid the bill.
You do get more generous.
Oh.
He gets more generous.
He gets generous.
That is
know
true.
what?
I do
remember
recall
that,
now.
Everybody's gonna be.
Rory, have some drinks.
Yeah, another
I'll
round.
buy the first round.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm not tasting blackberry. That's just in my mind.
So Rory, what's your call?
I like it. You know what's weird is for a breakfast beer, not hinting at when we're filming, but the really juicy IPA that we had, I would still put that above for like an earlier beer. The coffee is definitely a flavor on this one though, but I do like a lager. Like this I could have like 4 of these in a night. I'd be feeling real generous, and yeah, it would be.
This is a great revelation.
I always like that coffee infusion.
You'd be paying for the round and tipping big.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I guess it is. It is coffee and chocolate. Yeah, okay, that makes more sense. I was confusing chocolate with blackberry. Whatever. I didn't read the thing.
They're close. They're close.
No, it's a full flavor black lager, and I didn't know how you guys would react because people that just drink a basic lager, this is sometimes a little too much for them. But I thought we would we would try it, and I really enjoy it because it is very flavorful. It's it's approaching a stout, but a stout is actually a little less on the flavor side than this black lager would be. But
is that the thing with stout? They don't have as many hints of the flavor. They're a little bit more just strong, right?
Well, stouts aren't strong. Like if you look at a Guinness, it's about
Rory.
4.2% ABV.
Oh, that's true. Is that a stout?
Yeah, there's a bit of a misconception there that dark is stronger, but
right.
But I really enjoy this. I've had one before, and I like the dark lagers in general, and this is one of the better ones. So
yeah, and it's brought to you by Cranky Old Men Drinking Beer.
Bing bing. Don't know where it is, but bing bing.
We're up to isn't it? It's actually climbed what we're owed for those plugs, right?
I think it's getting up to 18, 19, 20,000.
This episode only cost me $5,000, eh?
Well, we haven't said it that many times. We're kind of easing up a little bit.
I heard it maybe twice. Maybe
it's
it
Christmas,
cost me
Rory.
10.
We're trying to be a little bit more,
It's only money.
A little giving.
A little bit. And Rory. Yeah, you have a couple drinks before you go Christmas shopping, Rory. See what happens.
Probably a good idea.
Head to the bay,
To the bay.
Get some 50 thread sheets.
Hard not to think of the bay.
To the dollar store.
Sorry, Bay. I know you tried really hard. You've been around. You're great for Canadian culture.
Roy, what would you rate this? What would you rate this out of your scale?
No, for me, this is a 16.
Nice.
And that's actually a high rating for me. 16 out of 20.
Do you have any like 19s, 20s that you like just love?
The highest I've ever rated was an 18.
Okay, we need to try that one of these days. Thank you everybody for watching. Thank you, Roy Slack, for joining us. I know you just look forward to it. Rory, thank you for getting a good night's rest before. Thank you, Kanye, for all the inspiration over the years.
I want to say one last thing is from Silversmith Brewing Co. as well to everybody watching. Somebody loves you. Hopefully. Thank you, Gowdy. Gowdy's got her head down, shaking her head at us.
Gowdy, is there anything you want to close? Anything that's been on your heart, on your mind, that's not related to how offensive I was this morning?
Oh, well then no.
Then, okay.
We're good then.
Okay,
Put it in writing, Gowdy.
Oh yeah, HR will be hearing from me.
Thank you, everybody. I'm going to go back to my real job now. We really appreciate your time. We thank you for the sponsorship you see behind it, and thank you for sticking with us now, the third episode. I know it's been tough, but we will work it out. See you on the next episode.